Hey, Snackers, this is Kareem Iskander.
Hey everyone, Matt DiNapoli here.
Welcome to episode 167 of Snack Minute.
This week we have the VP of DevNet, Shannon McFarland. Shannon, I guess I introduced you, but if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself real quick, and then I'll lead you with questions, being the head of developer strategy for DevNet.
No worries. Thanks for having me back on, guys. It's been a bit, and I always enjoy watching this program, but it's always outstanding to be a guest. As Matt mentioned, Shannon McFarland, I'm the VP of Cisco DevNet. I've been at Cisco nearly 25 years, filled a bunch of engineering roles, and happy to be here today.
Good to have you on, Shannon.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So Shannon, I know that the word on everyone's lips all the time is AI, right?
Yeah.
And really, we're getting into a time frame now where we're really talking about how we can practically use AI within our organization. And then more specifically, I think from the Cisco side, and especially the DevNet side, we're starting to look at scenarios where Gen AI tooling can be used for automation and programmability functions. So as we move into these agentic frameworks for leveraging these tools, where do you see DevNet's role in providing our customers and partners this concept and getting them comfortable really with what we're going to be doing and presenting to them in the AI agent space?
Well, I mean, I think, Matt, that latter part of your statement is making them comfortable, right? That's actually, I think, job number one, right? Is that there's so much hype and there's so much confusion around, which model do I apply to which use case, and is this like replacing my job as a developer or an operator? And then, so we need to kind of, clarify what this really means to us in this particular space. And so I think that there's really two things that DevNet's focused on over the course of the next year. And that is, one is showing you that all of the tools that you've already invested in, programming language, frameworks, infrastructure as code, all of that stuff exactly applies into Gen AI environments. You're going to use Terraform, Ansible, CDK, CloudFormation. You're going to use Python. You're going to use all of that same stuff to implement and manage and program and operate AI infrastructure, okay? So all of that stuff is replayable. It's not some new language you got to learn. So that's item number one that DevNet is going to help you understand, is that all of that stuff applies. The second part of it is that now you can actually utilize Gen AI to help you in your day job. So the good news gets even better, right? And that is that I can cherry pick Gen AI to leverage an IDE extension, or I can help it optimize my CI pipeline. And so DevNet's second job is to help you understand where Gen AI is very, very good at assisting you right now and where you should probably avoid it until we get a little more mature. So to kind of, reset on that, let's lower your fear factor around learning brand new things with Gen AI. You're going to be doing the same thing you're doing now with the same languages, but we can conditionally use Gen AI to actually help your job. And so I think over the next course of the year, that's really DevNet's responsibility, is to ease the burden, but also educate you in such a way that you actually feel comfortable using it when it matters.
I'm glad to hear you say that, Shannon, because I have a lot of conversations with customers where they're talking about AI workloads and AI infrastructure, and they're like, well, what are we supposed to do for, to change our infrastructure to be able to host these AI workloads?
Yep.
And it's spot on to what you said is it's what we've been talking about with DevNet since day one. You can't have an AI ready lossless network without having that cookie cutter kind of script that you build out for having different clusters to host these workloads. And you need Ansible and you need automation, and they're all in our, the Cisco validated designs. It says it there. If you're going to build this for the AI, you need to automate, and seeing DevNet come in that is huge. So I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yeah, and so that addresses, I think, part of the challenge, right? Which is understanding how the infrastructure actually plays into the workloads themselves. And our argument here, to oversimplify what both of you had said, is It's just more, and we need to be optimized and scale better organizationally, right? The other side of it is when we get to the point in IT operations teams about understanding where these tools can be useful, I do think it's part of DevNet's maxim in this next year or so to say these are where these tools are useful, not just for the AI workload, the infrastructure supporting AI workloads, but for all of your infrastructure. It can be an element that allows us to lower that barrier to entry into automation and programmability, and being able to not just pull away the fear of using AI in general, but the hesitancy that we've seen over the last 10 years of organizations really diving into automation and programmability because there's potentially a long ramp in understanding how we apply that to our security operations, to our IT operations, and then being able to build up those skills for people that have lived their lives in infrastructure or who have come up through a network engineering background and saying to them, well, now you have to code. Well, if we can put a little of that weight off of their shoulders and say, well, this Gen AI tool is going to help you with the coding part, leverage your existing network engineering knowledge or your infrastructure engineering knowledge, and you kind of fill in those blanks. I think that's where we can be incredibly successful to help our customers and partners in the coming years.
You're exactly right, Matt. There is this let's reduce the fear around the tool set stuff, but I think what we're hearing from customers is there's so much noise, and what was cool on Monday is no longer cool on Friday in the AI space. That's how quickly things are changing, right? What model you thought you were going to align to is not the model that you actually end up using. And so there's a lot of tool churn, and so I think that what customers are asking for is not a bunch of individual tool education or even, how do I innovate with these tools? It's give me a use case, package a bunch of components together in a solution, package it as a solution, and then allow me to innovate and build against that solution. And then in their mind, it's almost like, oh, okay, so I'm in transportation, and these tools that I've used with CI/CD, language, IDE extensions, all of these other things, I can, in my mind, know what that means in my day job. And AI just happens to be this non-annoying code pairing buddy or whatever it is that is just assisting me in the job that I already have. And so I think that DevNet is not only here to help folks understand where they can innovate with Gen AI, but we're also here to understand specific use cases that are real now versus real in 2 years, right? And so that's something that I think we got to get good in the solution space.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and that leads into my question that I had for both you, Shannon and Matt, from a DevNet perspective. So I know for Cisco, where the money is AI infrastructure. This is where our customers, majority of our customers,
Oh, yeah.
we all get that. Now, Gen AI comes in play as a top of it to see the art of possibility, what you could do with that, as you mentioned, Shannon. Where does DevNet focus on that data scientist persona as well, from like going deeper down that, like inside the AI itself and how to train models and all of that? Is that something that's focused on, or is that not really part of the charter?
We are there to connect you to the tools and technologies without a bunch of religion associated with those things, right? And so we obviously have opinions around how do you optimally program against Cisco infrastructure, because we know there's a right way and a wrong way to do that. But we're not necessarily going to go out and say we're only applying this to application developers versus DevOps versus data scientists. And so we've not actually encountered, Kareem, a situation where we needed to go and do very specific best practices or documentation uniquely to the data scientists. But that doesn't mean that there won't be a situation where someone comes knocking on our door for that unique bit of innovation, or that bit of a sandbox that's unique to that. We would not say no to that. We've just not encountered it.
Yeah, but the deep, behind the wizard's curtain of how are we training models, how are we tuning those, that's not necessarily the practical direction that we would want to go.
Yep.
It would be more of potentially saying what model is practically useful in this use case, in this solution, in this scenario, and how do we potentially augment that via some RAG implementation or some added element of document inclusion that would help that particular model do a relatively specified job within the infrastructure management space. And I think that's where we can be strong, because the data science portion of this, I think probably, it eludes me, to be honest. And I think it's one of those parts that we have to get to a point, just like how APIs are implemented, that we have to kind of trust that black box a little bit and say, if we're going to leverage these things organizationally, then I don't necessarily need to fully understand how the vector database is built, but I need to at least understand the limitations and ramifications of leveraging those tools.
Makes sense.
I'm going to pivot a little bit, Shannon. I'm actually seeing very excitedly, and I think you've seen this too, an uptake within Cisco for the notions of automation and programmability that probably has fallen off for the last 2 or 3 years or so. I'm seeing it in sales. I'm seeing it in customer experience. Can you chime in a little bit on some of the value that DevNet can bring in supporting these groups as they go out and talk to our customers and partners?
Yeah, I think that, I don't remember exactly where I saw the survey, but it was something like 77% of deals on enterprise IT motions from networking and security vendors had an RFP or RFQ item that was DevOps oriented. And so I dig that up sometime, but it was a very interesting statistic, because that means that the overwhelming majority of IT vendors are being asked to ensure that there is API functionality, programmability, infrastructure as code, and all of those other semantics are attached to their offerings, right? And so that means that not only is the customer asking for that, and if a lot of our deals go through partners, that means the partners are requiring that. That means there's something to this programmability and automation thing, right? And so that we got to support that. I think what has happened is that more and more the programmability and the DevOps and that sort of thing has moved into other spaces inside of IT that, for example, Cisco's traditional sales groups have not actually had to encounter. Platform teams, SRE teams, actually full stack teams, right, that are actually writing, frontline, front end, back end code, but now they're actually doing a little bit of infrastructure code on hyperscalers or on-prem code. And so those are kind of new personas for some of our sales folks. And so I think what we need to do is ensure they're armed with the correct lingo or the vocabulary, that when they encounter those folks, that they know what network automation means, what does programmability mean, what does open API specification mean, and how do they have a conversation around Meraki in that context. And so I think that we've been doing that for quite some time. We just need to make sure that our field and our channels folks know that those assets are available to them.
Yeah, and I think there's a few exciting opportunities just within the Cisco product space. There's a new product platform out called Cisco Workflows that allows us to go with a relatively low code, no code, stitched together interactions between multiple domains within the Cisco product space, and allows us to automate in a way that Cisco, has in fits and starts kind of supported, but never really pushed into. So I've been really excited about that as a quick entry point for organizations into automation and programmability against Cisco product, which DevNet will support up and down and, scream it from the rafters, right? Some other areas that I've found interesting lately as well is our customer experience group has really started to push a grassroots effort around what they're calling services as code. And these are more intense more intense engagements in automation and programmability for potentially larger scale customers. But I feel like that's what you're going to see from DevNet is support of those programs and products that are really going to drive that notion home. Not to mention our DevNet Ignite program, which is allowing our solutions engineers to go out and enable them in having those conversations with our customers on the ground. Those three areas for me are really exciting because it's something that we, I think, have we did really well in the past in different areas and kind of lost a little bit of focus for a while, but it's exciting to see that that's coming back into the Cisco DNA, for lack of a better word. And it's something that's supported across all the, the delivery organizations within the company.
You hit on three big things that we actually touched on the AI front that I think people are begging for. And that is people don't want point technology or a point tool. They're looking for a thing to help them reduce the toil and friction in their life and the least amount of effort possible. And so, Cisco workflows and the things that we've been doing for years of building muscles with NSO and crosswork and all this other stuff, manifesting itself in a low code, no code kind of way with workflow is exactly that kind of manifestation, right? Is like, give me something that is not just a point technology, but it actually is something that is removing the friction out of my life. The CX stuff around solutions, people want solutions. They don't want, again, some one-off vertical element. And this is, again, what we want to gravitate towards, certainly on the AI side as well. Then the third one is that I think that doing stuff in a use case manner that resonates with the customer. I think this, what we've done for a long period of time is we have went through the education with our customers in a very hello world sort of way. And that's groovy when I can type some code and it says hello world, but it doesn't give me in my mind any way to be creative in my own day job. So, I argue, I often say with my team, it's like, I'm done with hello world. We need to be saying hello Cisco or hello finance or hello healthcare, right? It should be in context with something that resonates with our customers and partners. And so I totally agree with you, Matt. That's something that not only DevNet needs to be doing, but Cisco holistically.
And I think that ties nicely to what Cisco's been talking about with One Cisco, right? Because the evolution, the whole evolution of that DevNet, when we started back, 2015, 16, 14, we were talking about 13. When we're talking about what we focused on products. We focus on product APIs, right? We never actually got to the point where we kind of solve for that solution and that use case where we're automating from product A to product Y, right? Customers don't have just Catalyst or Catalyst Center in their infrastructure, right? They have Catalyst. They probably have a mix of Meraki, maybe third party. So being able to solve all of that with something like workflow, Cisco workflow, to be able to bring that automation from into different products, I think that's where the value proposition of DevNet is and what we were trying to do for a while.
Hey, Kareem, I remember we built a demo in 2018, LC domain automation, and it covered exactly that. And we were showing the value. I mean, we had to stitch some things together, but it was cool to see that Workflows was taking that notion and bringing that to bear.
And that was 5 years ago, Matt?
No, it was probably 6 years ago.
Yeah, 6 years ago using, I remember this action orchestrator. We did Catalyst Center, DNA Center, SD-WAN, and ACI, and we brought all of that together with drag and drop.
Well, I think Intersight and UCS was in there too.
That's right.
Yeah.
And automation to the cloud. Actually, we brought in AWS.
We were pioneers, Kareem, and no one knew. Shannon, unfortunately, I think that's all the time we have. We could probably sit here and talk about this stuff forever, but
absolutely,
I do want to make one more point before we go. In notion to Kareem and Cisco U. A lot of the collaboration and support we have between our organizations is fantastic. And I know that Kareem and team spend a lot of time talking about automation programmability, and they're moving into that AI space as well. And so, DevNet will be kind of standing on your shoulders a little bit in saying, all right, if you need that foundational material and you need that understanding about the infrastructure from the, usage standpoint and understanding how AI fits into that framework, our friends at Cisco, you are where you're at. And then, as you move into a more solution oriented thought, that's where DevNet's going to be. So some really exciting times. I'm feeling a lot more glommed together with the rest of the company and how things are going. And so it's a really fun and exciting time. And so, Shannon, thank you for your time today to jump in and chat with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it. And again, I think the next time the three of us will be together, Cisco Live EMEA is coming up,
Yep.
Not too distant future. So it's going to be a good time. Looking forward to seeing you there.
Yep.
Likewise. Thank you for your time today.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Snackers, so much. We'll see you guys next time.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.